to you building this thing in year one?
Yeah, Rob, I thought he played really well last week, especially. He's had some games where he's played at a really high level, and then had some games, but his drop off, it's not. He's just so consistent, and then when he is freaking running around, who has the energy and buzzing around on the pulling and playing physical and feisty, he's played really consistent for us all year, and just the leadership, obviously, and the ownership of not just the run game, but the protections, the continuity and chemistry in the room. Just the way that those guys have played kind of at a lot of times this year at a high level for us. And, everybody, you looked at last night, a pretty darn good team, had 8 sacks. And, I think our guys are battling their tails off up front and really doing a nice job, and it's led by him.
And then you guys are second defensively in stopping the run. How important has Devon Hamilton been in
unsung hero in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously had a huge moment against the Raiders that he got, the credit that he deserves for, but he's been, again, so consistent, but he's a huge reason why we've been able to stop the run up front. Massive reason. He helps others. Obviously, he makes plays on his own, but he helps others in so many ways that when you really talk about a group effort of stopping the run and flat wall defense and playing square and using your hands and shedding blocks and making the plays that come your way. Devon's been so consistent that way, and he's just a pro's pro as well. The guy he just goes about his business, does it at a high level week in and week out, and that's his standard and expectation.
Eric Armstead, what are you getting out of him today?
I saw Sacks, leading the interior DL in sacks throughout the NFL right now, I think it was, or whatever. And I mean, Eric Armstead, the last, I would say, really going back since the bye, has practiced on obviously the Thursdays when we go padded specifically, out of his mind. Every single rep, he's in the backfield in practice every single time. And getting to know Eric more and more. We talk a lot about our time to, separate in terms of LA, San Fran, and what that was like for him coming up and that in a new system with new first-year coaches and GMs. We've talked a lot about that culturally. And to see him disrupting as much as he has, it's showing up in practice, though. That's where he's doing it every single day. It's not like he's a 13-year vet that's just kind of hanging out on the sidelines during practice and then going out in the games and doing it. He's doing it every single day in practice. He's trying to set an example as to what we're looking for from that penetration and getting vertical. And, I've been really pleased with Eric and the kind of guy that he's been so consistent, and I've appreciated that from him as well.
How important has the collaboration between coaches in different rooms, namely like the running back room and the offensive line room, how important has that been to sort of meet together and talk?
Yeah, they're together a lot, right? It starts early in the week with the initial run game plan with all those guys being in there together, get back together in the afternoons to kind of re-review, and then they're again back together for the protection meetings and being locked in and on the same page with the calls, the things we're seeing, how we can get on the same page as much as possible. And I think that they've all taken it pretty personally when it comes to the communication, collaboration, understanding of what we're trying to get accomplished in the run game first and foremost, what schemes might be best this week against that opponent, and being on the same page about how we want to maybe attack those front structures. And then you look at the pass protection, obviously with LaQuint Allen so much of the time being in there on third down, the pride that he takes, the continuity that they have with those guys. He's in there, passing off stunts with them like he's an offensive lineman. So you can tell there's a lot of time that goes into it. So much of when our offense is not on the grass in practice, whether it be via defense or special teams, they're doing something for the most part. They are, walking through the runs, walking through the blitz protections. As much repetition as we can get those guys collaborating together, the better off your run game and protection is going to be.
The defensive side of the ball, I know James and Tony mentioned it a little bit last night on the podcast, but with Trayvon's status potentially in doubt for Sunday, BJ, Danny getting more run, what's your expectation for kind of what the availability, not just with Trayvon, but of that edge room, and also DeJuan Smoot playing more inside of late? Can you kick him more out to outside of Trayvon?
Absolutely. That would be the some of the plans there is, if Trayvon can't go, we have a lot of confidence in those guys that are able to continue to play and elevate their play. And, Smoot's been a huge asset in terms of just his versatility to be able to maybe not always show up in every stat, but like how much he can help us in terms of going inside, going outside, being able to be involved in either the games, the stunt, the pressure, the 4-man, and help and try to stop the run. I've appreciated that from him, especially because he isn't a big, huge body that can jump in at three technique or 4-eye, but he does it. He does it, and he doesn't, say anything about it, and he goes and does it, and I've appreciated that from him. And then we obviously saw BJ and Danny, make some plays over the last few weeks. But a guy like Smoot that's been doing it all season, and doesn't, again, get a ton of recognition for that. We're going to need those guys again this week to continue to elevate and step up, and just go be creative, go be yourselves. And that, because we see it all the time, every day at practice with BJ and Danny on the show team. We see it every single day. And so, really looking forward to them taking another step in their development. And obviously with that whole crew, it's going to be a huge mix. Like last week when we rushed it and we covered it better, that together, it's not ever just one group and the other to defend the pass, right? They have to be in coordination. When it's connected, whoever is up there rushing, usually it's going to be good for you.
And then Dennis, I know this past weekend got a little bit more creative. I know you guys have talked about potentially bringing him in over, shading him over a guard, which is what you were able to do. How does that maybe, I don't want to say makes you feel more encouraged if Trayvon doesn't go Sunday, but having that weapon as well?
Another piece, pivotal piece to where in base defense, right, he's on the edge, being able to do what he does against tight ends or in the run game, shedding blocks. And then Dennis is a very smart football player, and you can put him in multiple different spots, whether it be on the edge to rush in sub defenses or in obviously stand up inside, being able to work the games and work some of the straight rushes on whomever they deem is a good matchup for these guys, right? And so Dennis and I have talked obviously a lot this week, knowing that, him being in that defensive structure for a few years, and, I know he wants this one pretty bad.
Those split blocks went last week, Brendan, earlier in the year. Why has that play been so successful for you guys this year?
Which one?
Split zone.
Oh, yeah. Man, I don't know. It's split zone in itself, I think, always causes a defense a little bit of a problem because you're just violating, A, their eyes, B, their gap responsibilities by creating a new gap that they have to fall back into. And so, I think, and also with the ball being able to hit either front side or the ability to kind of bend and cut up, if you will, off of that split zone kick out block. And our tight ends are athletic enough to be able to adjust, I think, on that block a lot because, oftentimes the defensive end is there and you're, trying to go kick him out. But then if he moves or squeezes down, you have to be able to adjust and react accordingly. And I think our guys have done a nice job of understanding the play and what goes into it, what are the issues with it. And I think the backs have a good feel for the ability to hit it either front side or what we call backside.
Like facial explosiveness, you guys have always known what he can do on the ground. How's he kind of grown in the passing game, pass protection like that?
He had a great step up the other day. He's taking it very seriously. I think, like I've mentioned about Chad, I think he's one of the best I've ever been around, and if not the. And the way that he can break down pass protection for guys to really put it in buckets and try to simplify as much as possible the calls, because there are a lot of calls that go into it based on what the front structure is and the look. So it's easily the most challenging thing for any rookie running back to get down. But Toot has done a phenomenal job of being up here every Tuesday with Chad and being up here and getting extra work. And he's taken pride in getting better at it and improving, because I think every back wants to be in as much as they can, and to be able to not have to move pieces around, if to not make a tell, especially. So been pleased with the way he's been able to run, and I think he's close to breaking some of those to create more explosives there. I want to see him in the open field like that and see what that could look like, but I've been proud of the way he's been able to pick up the pass protection.
Trevor said the other day with Jacoby, when he's watching him run from a quarterback perspective, it's really very clear what he's going to do and where he's going to be. Can you explain that a little better than maybe he did?
Yeah, I think if you're a receiver and you understand leverage and zones and where people may be, then you can set up your route accordingly. And I think Jacoby does a nice job of giving the quarterback indicators as to where he may go based on his body language. And also just his soft feel. Like just yesterday we had in Mamba 3rd down, another great example of him kind of hooking up in the middle of the field, just finding a soft zone behind Foye. Foye's pretty close to him, and Trevor just rips in the middle and is bang, bang, 1st down. Just has a feel for the game, and his body language as a receiver, I think, is very quarterback friendly. You just know when he's going to be breaking in or out or sitting down. He doesn't make these quick herky jerk movements that can spook a quarterback. It's all pretty fluid and deliberate, is I guess what I would say. And so, he has good hands, so that allows the quarterback to, even if he's maybe off a little bit, know that he will still, be able to adjust and make some of those plays. So, you've seen some chemistry from them early on, which is nice.
Is that something that you got to develop over years and years in the league?
Yes,
You don't just
feel.
show up and have
A lot of feel, man. It's the definition of, he was a quarterback too, which I think helps some of his savviness and feel for the game. I definitely can see where that can come into play. And he's seen a lot of ball. He's had a lot of snaps. He's run a lot of routes, seen a lot of coverages. And when you accumulate those and also have some general natural football IQ and feel, I think that's kind of what you're seeing.
From a philosophical perspective, in your opinion, in your estimation, having coached in the NFL, does a player have to practice during the week to be available on Sunday?
It's definitely a challenge for sure. Jar and I, a couple of guys were talking about it yesterday. It's just the nature of the National Football League at this time is very difficult to get a ton of meaningful ops and reps in practice. I'm talking about full speed, right? You can do as much jog through as possible, and that's kind of where you have to go a little bit towards the end of the season with the bodies and the injuries being what they are. The goal is to get them to Sunday, but there is a different challenge of preparing as a pro with very limited full speed snaps in a game, especially as a younger player. So that's that's just part of this, though. So many guys have had to do it. I do believe you can do it because of the jog through, because of the walk through. We didn't do any full speed on Wednesday anyway, so you're talking about a couple periods on Thursday, a couple periods on Friday. The jog through, walk through reps are so valuable that you have to take advantage of every one, and the amount that you have to be locked into the plan and taking reps when others are. Taking mental reps has got to be key and critical to our players that are having to take some limited opportunities this week and are expected to go play on Sunday. We can't miss those ops. So it's doable. It's just definitely harder.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Liam.
Thanks, guys.